Good evening, everyone, and what we do is I have your names in alphabetical order, and we'll start that way. And then we will go to the next name, the next question, and to the third name, just as a fairness process. Ran for office, and everyone knows me as Wally Paul. That's been my name my whole life. My real name is Wallace Paul. And I had a friend come up to me after the election, laughing. He said he saw this Flatlander's name named Wallace Paul and decided not to vote for him. I realized it was me after. He felt bad. He felt terrible. So we're going to read the official names. And when you introduce yourself, please tell them how you would prefer to be addressed for that purpose, so that you know who you're voting for and who you're voting for.
So did you win?
Yes, I did. But I could have used one more vote. So, Melville Asher Gould. Please tell us about yourself, your qualifications for office, and why you're interested in serving on the school board. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's right. Reintroduce yourself, Mom.
Let's go to the lollipop story again. I'm Asher Gould. A lot of you a few of you might know my grandfather, my dad, because I am the fourth Mel Goulds. But then I'm also known as Chip from when I grew up here, but that was usually preceded with an expletive, so we won't get into that. To say what qualifies me for this is the fact that I live here and I just want to see a town for the future, civic duty, which is what led me to enlist in the Marine Corps, just that feel of, having to give back and to pay my dues. I spent a quarter century as a chef traveling the world. I left here in 91, but when I met my lovely wife and much better half for those of you who have met her, we had to raise a family, and we started doing it in Missouri and just realized that Millinocket is just idyllic to raise children, the sense of community, the outdoors. And, I really just want to spend this time in 3-year term of preserving that and giving them a future. So unlike me in 1991, we don't have to leave here, so, yeah, that's about it. Reason that I'm doing it, fiscal conservancy, just so that when our taxes are tripling, that we can look around and say, wow, that's why our taxes have tripled. So, anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Megan Elizabeth Ryan.
Sorry, Ellie's pulling it.
Sorry.
And I will read the question each time. So, please tell us about yourself, your qualifications for office, and why you're interested in serving on the town council.
My name is Megan Runyon. We can drop the Elizabeth. It's not necessary, but it's on my voter registration. So there you go. I moved here 5 years ago with my husband and our dog. And we bought a house sight unseen, and we have loved Millinocket from the moment we stepped into this town. We have been greeted and loved by the community. We've found a sense of home here, and we've never looked back. As a professional, I work remotely. I'm a manager of a global IT company, and I have a degree in organizational leadership. And I have a lot of experience about bringing people together, pushing projects, getting things done. And from a community perspective, I've served on the planning board for 3.5 years. I'm the secretary of the planning board, and I truly enjoy doing that. And I want to broaden my civic duty and help build this community up to what it could be.
Thank you. And Gilda Stratton. Please tell us about yourself, your qualifications for office, and why you're interested in serving on the town council.
I am Gilda Stratton. Bucker Stratton is what my former name was. And I live in the house I was born and brought up in. I worked after I graduated from Stearns High School, I worked at the mill for almost 30 years and retired and entered the University of Maine and graduated with a degree in legal technology. And from that point, I worked as a paralegal until retiring. I am very familiar with the town government and have served as both the chair of the school board and a former counselor. My goal is to build on the assets of the region and address safety, health, and economic opportunities in this region. For example, I would like to re-examine contracts that outsource valuable assets to this community. For instance, police and recreation. And that's about all I'll say to this question until you give me another one.
Thank you, Gilda. Question number 2, we'll start with Megan. What specific goals do you hope to accomplish during your time on the town council? And what hurdles do you anticipate being in your way?
One of my biggest goals would be to focus on the benefits of the rail grant that has recently been received. We need to create an oversight committee to oversee the railway grant and how that will directly impact Millinocket in a positive way. We need to use this to be an attractant to attract lively new businesses to the mill site that will help support the development of the mill site. I would also like to see and encourage affordable broadband expansion across our entire town, because it is no longer a commodity, it is a necessity for our daily lives. Housing and public spaces, we need to increase and focus on those to attract families and to keep families here. All of that being said, our biggest hurdles is probably timelines, as we have no control over the railway grant and or what their timeline looks like. And we need to ensure that developers take Millinocket into account as they're looking at building in the mill site, because our voice and what happens with that mill site counts. It matters.
Thank you. And next will be Gilda Stratton. What specific goals do you hope to accomplish during your time on the town council?
Well, I did mention my goals in the previous question, and that is to examine the health, safety, and economic opportunities in this region. And I really want to re-examine contracts that outsource our police and recreation. Also, I am for the railroad grant, definitely. If we have a business that comes to where the mill site was, the railroad will be very, very much an asset for that business. So I would totally agree with that. And one of the roles of a town councilor is to represent the best interests of the people in the community, in the Katahdin region, and to work with area organizations and committees to better attract businesses and residents to this area. I strongly support the continued growth of outdoor recreation, motorized and non-motorized. And the natural resources are here for us to become a premier four-season destination. And I'm totally for that. And if the next question I'll address housing and how I'd like to proceed with that.
It was, what hurdles do you anticipate being in your way?
There'll be hurdles for everyone because our tax rate is so high, especially for an aging community. So we have to be essential in enticing businesses and new residents to this area so we can offset that tax rate.
Thank you. Mr. Gould, I asked you the same question. What specific goals do you hope to accomplish during your time on the town council? And what hurdles do you anticipate being in your way?
I was gonna say tag along with what Gilda said there, lifetime is gonna be the biggest obstacle for anything we face. Lower taxes by curbing spending, first and foremost. And I know that I've put it out there and it's part of the Lincoln News article, but Airbnbs, I think Airbnbs have just run rampant when we haven't allowed a certain specific amount of Airbnbs. And I've read into a lot of what Booth Bay Harbor, which was one of the first places to really get overwhelmed by it, of limiting them, but not making it an optional fee, and then we have to also look at local taxes on Airbnbs. My specific goal is to bring more future thinking and not so much the now thinking, and thinking about the future and being able to pass that on to the next generation. Just anything that can help us save money and be more environmentally friendly, to show of everyone that is coming here for the outdoors, solar streetlights. There's so many different things that we can go down, but also keeping your ears open and listening. So.
Well, thank you. For our third question, we'll start with Gilda. Please share your thoughts on a couple of topics that are being currently discussed by the town councils.
One of the things is we just spoke on the tax rate. How is it? It's extremely high. Our tax rate is twice as high as Portland. My daughter just pointed that out to me. And that is something that we really have got to assess and bring businesses into this area. Another thing that I want to address is the code. The building code. We need to put a bite in our code. It needs to be amended for the health and safety of the residents and for the economic opportunities of the community. The code enforcement officer has to have the power to do his job. And he does an excellent job, but that code has got to be amended and looked into. For now, that's all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Now, please share your thoughts on a couple of topics that are being currently discussed by the town council. Nice guess, though.
I was gonna say this is gonna shoot myself in the foot right off the bat, but consolidation. I see what the town was in the 70s and the 80s that I grew up in, and are we gonna have that 8,500 person population base? We're probably not, unless some major industry comes in. So let's combine the towns versus watching decrepit buildings get more decrepit. And first and foremost, I'm not calling him out, but Randy Jackson and the beautification that he brought up at one of the last town council meetings,
Very good.
I'm brief, sorry.
No, you're great.
Oh, sorry. You weren't part of that town meeting. He brought a lovely artist up that specializes in urban beautification and had some ideas for how that we could beautify. And a lot of what Gilda was saying about abandoned buildings and buildings that have gone and that aren't gonna be able to be revamped. Let's at least make them beautiful on the outside, so I apologize.
Megan, please share your thoughts on a couple of topics that are being currently discussed by the town council.
So I know there's a lot of ongoing topics with the town council, specifically the mill site, tourism and recreation, broadband expansion, housing, and the airport improvement grants. The mill site was probably never not be a topic of discussion, right? Because that's our big moneymaker. That's what we need. We need businesses in there. Tourism and recreation, we have it all. You know, we are Four Seasons. We do get tourists all year round. And our recreation committee is working hard to make sure that we get everything we need and have Millinocket's voices heard when it comes to the recreation in East Millinocket and working together. I think at this time that the right conversations are being had. However, I think that we need to be able to connect those conversations to measurable outcomes.
Very nice. We'll start again with Mel Gould on question number 4. What is your visions for Millinocket future? What steps do we need to take as a community to get there? And how will you help us get there?
Well, again, by listening, because I am very novice to, civic government, but, industry into innovation, if we're gonna look at industry, something with innovation, that's not just gonna be a flash in the pan, something that we can look at 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Incentivizing for bringing businesses in here, making it much more welcoming. And that's gonna include lower real estate prices, for both business and residential. More retail, I just started working at Tractor Supply and going into that mall that is just completely empty, sans one business. We've got to get businesses in there. We just need to light a fire under it. And I hate to say this because I knew growing up here, there was such a rivalry between the towns, but, I just opened a restaurant in Lincoln, Maine, and, there's got to be something that we can tap into that they're doing over there that we can bring over here. So that's just it, is listening and reaching out into communication with Lincoln to see what they did.
Thank you. And next we go to Megan.
Gilda, you want to trade seats?
What is your vision for Millinocket's future? What steps do we need to take as a community to get there? And how will you help us get there?
So my vision for Millinocket is to be a balanced and resilient Millinocket, full of industry, recreation, and opportunity for thriving families. To get there, we have to finish what we started. We have to finish the mill cleanup. We need to invest in our people, meaning we have training or apprenticeships, small business support here. We need to strengthen our community fabric with housing, sustainable jobs, and safe public spaces. And we need to diversify our economy. That includes manufacturing, tourism, the forest industry, and focusing on bringing remote workers in.
Thank you. Gilda, what is your vision for Millinocket's future? What steps do we need to take as a community to get there? And how will you help us get there?
Well, first of all, I'll say I'm an active, very good listener. And I care about everyone in the town, regardless of their political views. And I am not here for my ego or personal interest. I am here for the town. I remember what it was, and I know what it can be again. And I will say that one of the questions on the ballot that the town council was discussing was whether the town manager should live within our community. Our forefathers always made sure that the town manager lived in this community because they would have a vested interest here. And I feel that is very, very important. So that is one thing that I would like to see be a very, very important part of what we discuss. Because I don't want to see that change. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 5, and we'll start with Megan. Yeah, we're getting the hang of it. This is good, yeah. How do you think Millinocket should collaborate with other towns in the area to share services, if at all?
I believe in the collaboration of our towns, and it saves us money and it improves our services. Economic development for the entire region should be a thing, and we shouldn't be competing with East Millinocket or Medway. We should be one Katahdin region, and that is what we should focus on when we're talking about tourism promotion. Additionally, we can pool our resources. When we pool resources, that helps us write better grants. We get share our resources for the incidentals like maps and guides and improvements that need to be made for the trails. The trails connect us anyway. So we should all be working together to make this entire Katahdin region something that thrives. But I do believe that keeping some of our core municipal functions within Millinocket, things like land use, our fire department. But either way, it is very, very important that Millinocket does not lose its identity when we're working on those collaborations.
Thank you. And Gilbert, now, how do you think Millinocket should collaborate with other towns in the area to share services, if at all?
I do have to commend the school department for what they are doing to collaborate with the surrounding towns. We have some very, very good programs. And all the children should be able to play all the sports and have the music programs. So I do go along with that. But like I said, I want to examine the outsourcing contracts of some of our essential assets, like our police department and our recreation department. I think those areas should be looked at for us to be a very thriving Katahdin region. Work together, all the organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. Mel, how do you think Millinocket should collaborate with other towns in the area to share services, if at all?
I was gonna say by working together and of course, listening to each other and listening to our concerns because they are unique to Medway. They are unique to East Millinocket, definitely with the fire departments, just to keep it localized. If we do continue to share police services, I do think there needs an increase in staffing for the police because we don't have the coverage that, again, as our tax base is showing that we should have. So, obviously, pulling on a heartstring of what law enforcement is and having it been part of my family and talking to Mr. Nelson as well, that, we need to have that police presence again in Millinocket. So, and yeah.
Thank you. And for our final thoughts, which we will start with Gilda, this is your chance to make your case for your candidacy or share anything else that you didn't get to touch on in previous questions.
Well, I think I've touched on about everything I wanted to touch on, especially the outsourcing our police force, having the representation that we need in this area. I remember, like I said before, what we had, what was, and what we can be in the future. by working together and looking out for each one in the community. And pay attention to health and safety as far as these abandoned buildings are concerned. That's a safety issue. They're condemned. They should be gotten rid of. Thank you. Who's next?
Thank you. And Mel, that was a. Yeah, I was gonna say, you're in the right direction. This is your chance to make your case for your candidacy or share anything else that you didn't get to touch on in previous questions.
I think I've established it. I'm just looking for that community and to see a Millinocket that my children feel safe in and are growing up in. You know, I know that I'm not as qualified for this job as I could be, but I can guarantee you that I will learn as much as I can and make it that mission. Because, I signed up for this because it was coming down to default.
You
And-
gotta start somewhere.
Exactly. So you know what I said, this would be my step in there and you can complain and you can have an opinion or you can do something about it. So that's why I'm here. So thank you.
Megan, this is your chance to make your case for your candidacy or share anything else that you didn't get to touch on in previous questions.
I guess I'll wrap it up. I think in the end, for me, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about this community. It's not about the nostalgia of what was, it's about building our community and our next chapter steadily and sustainably. We have the rail to give us a backbone, we have a community to give us our compass. And together, Millinocket's future will be of pride and opportunity.
Well, thank you. I think what we'd like to do is invite the public to ask questions, but before we do that, I'm the type of person, if I get a microphone in my hand, I can talk all day about where I think we should be going and what we should be doing. And if you're interested, come on over to the house and I'll give you a good dose of it. But for tonight, what I'd like to do is keep the questions directed towards our candidates. In all fairness, we've invited them to come and present themselves and show themselves who they are. So let's keep the speeches down and keep the questions as you will, as pointed or as general or as you like. So who might have a question for the candidates? Yes, sir.
Really?
Turn that on. There we go.
Hello, my name's JC Gardner. I'm a resident here in Millinocket. I'm Megan's husband, excuse me. My question actually just popped up. Gilda, you had mentioned that you wanted to give the code enforcement somebody, more, less red tape or whatnot. I don't know how you worded it specifically,
They
but
said that there has to be a bite in that.
Yeah.
There has to be an amendment made to that code because we want the code enforcement person to have all the power that he can to enforce what he's recommending be done. And our code enforcement officer does an excellent job now, but he's got to have the tools to work with.
I agree. And the reason I ask is because so we were looking all over the state of Maine before we picked Millinocket, and actually I'm the one that did the final decision to move here because one of my professions is building retaining walls. And we looked specifically at all of the town codes before we moved, and Millinocket's code for retaining walls specifically said, build the wall as high as it needs to be built to retain the wall that it needs to be built or to retain. And I was like, I want to move there, right? And so that's less red tape. So no, and I understand the safety and everything of having a code enforcement officer. So I guess the way I'm trying to direct this question is are you trying to make him to where it's more red tape and so that projects are pushed off? Or are you trying to give him the power
The power
to
that he needs.
like make people
enforce.
correct things?
Yes.
That need correcting, right? 'Cause
Yes.
some retaining walls are like leaning into other people's property. I've noticed into like sidewalks and are just dangerous. And I'm not saying that because like, oh yeah, I get the business. I'm just saying like, I was just wondering how you wanted to lean with the code enforcement officer, like make him, the magic king that can wave a wand and do anything he wants, or if he was to be more.
To have the power to enforce what he is recommending happen.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else might have a question for the candidates? Sandy?
This is basically for all three. I attend most of the council meetings, whether it be in person or Zoom. And it seems as though lately there's been very few votes taken with all 7 councilors present. Are you all available to be at council meetings?
Yes.
Or are 90% of your meetings going to be Zoomed?
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't need the microphone. I can walk there. Absolutely.
As a previous council person, I never missed a meeting.
That's fair. As you know, being a planning board member, since I've been assigned to the planning board or whatever they call it, but anyway, I've not missed one and I'm an alternate. So it is important.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm a child educator, so I have a playground voice. Jean Wade, one of the things that's been a concern for me, and I've been to the town office and talked to the code enforcement officer, is derelict properties. Properties which are open to the outside. And we have some lovely cat colonies, which, you know, I have less issue with than houses that are really literally starting to fall down. And basically I was told there's really nothing we can do as long as they're paying the property taxes. And I'm like, this is my problem. You raised my property taxes to what I consider more appropriate, but I'm paying property taxes across the street from a house that hasn't mowed its lawn or actually hasn't had a resident for 3 years. So what would you suggest as a step forward or an action step to help ameliorate this issue?
Well, I can tell you what Portland just did. These buildings that are condemned in businesses left open for a certain amount of time, they passed a rule that they would be fined after a certain period of time, that they were warned about it and then they were fined. So, and that's just been passed down there, so we'll see how it goes. That's just a suggestion.
Might someone else have a?
Absolutely, and I was curious if you lived across from the house, that would be number 1 on my list. My aunt and uncle built a house on Forest Avenue. And I get to drive past it on to go to my grandmother's house and to see what my aunt and uncle had built as opposed to what it is now. It's crushing. So the beautification of this town is paramount, so.
I think for this, I'll second Gilda on providing more access for our code enforcement officer to be able to enforce rules, condemn buildings, and again, yes, fine them for being derelict buildings that are dangerous to our community.
Thank you. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm concerned about the health
Yeah.
issues that derelict buildings.
Yes, me
Present.
too. That's why I mentioned
Yeah.
health and safety.
Who else might have a question for our candidates? Yes, ma'am.
So to start off with, hello, thank you for talking about how you were interested in beautifying town and bringing in businesses. And all that good stuff. My question has to do with, a few of you mentioned trying to like kind of curb some spending. So how does that align with these projects that you're talking about, like, for example, beautifying the town, or bringing in businesses? Where is that spending going to be cut, I guess?
I'll start. I think that from my perspective, I can't give you a good solid answer on the numbers because I don't know what the budget really looks like. However, that being said, I believe that we need to incentivize the businesses to be here, but that doesn't mean giving them money. We need to give them reasons to be here. The rail is a key gateway for that, especially at the mill site, because we'll have a direct line to Searsport for shipping, right? And if they sign on for that, right? You know that they're going to manufacture something that's going to give jobs to our community and they have a way to ship their product. I would say that I would necessarily be for providing them with some sort of incentive. Well, it's not benefiting the residents of Millinocket as a whole.
Well, I guess I addressed a lot of your question in most everything I've spoke on tonight, that the budget is made up by the assessor, I'm sure, and then they vote on it. And each part of the budget has to be gone over, and we don't know what that is right now, so you can't really comment on how or what you would cut, but I wouldn't want to cut something that is very essential to the production of this community. So.
Yeah, proving my ignorance in how this operation works, but it just comes into the insight and looking at that budget in Port Carroll spending and just seeing where pennies can be cut. With a quarter century of restaurant, the restaurant industry is a 5 cents on the dollar profit margin that you're looking at. So, that's what's ingrained into my mind. So just seeing where money can be saved so that you can maximize profit. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've
Yeah,
got one more
well,
question.
actually, we have time for one more. We're going to take a break, and Diana did you have your hand?
Well, I did. It did bounce off a couple of the questions.
Okay, all right, you're happy then, okay. Sir, you have a,
Well, I'm very concerned about the environment and very disappointed. When I first moved here, I bought my house in 17 and I moved here in 18. A couple of members of the town council went down to Bangor when they were talking about downgrading the River Millinocket stream water standards. And I told them, I'm not interested. I didn't move to Millinocket to attract dirty businesses that are gonna put filth into the environment. I like what's happening with the green revolution that Matt Polstein and some other people are doing around here, and the trail work that OSI's been doing and that sort of thing. And along with RVs and snowmobiles and motorized outdoor sports hunters, that's our big attraction. And I think we should focus on that unless we get a college here in town. But how do you feel about attracting dirty business to this town? And I was ambivalent about the fish farm. I guess that's killed, but that's sort of borderline, But what do you think about that?
Green's the only way to go. And that's why I said the future of this town, it's only going to exist if we start taking care of the land that's around us. So.
I am not for putting chemicals and dirt into our rivers and streams and congesting the area. I worked for that mill for many years, and that was one of my concerns through those many, many years. And as far as the salmon farm is concerned, I did ask the question, what happens to the waste? And I was told that that was being taken care of. So
Unless the power goes out.
that's right, yeah.
I think that we have enough issues with our brownfields already,
Yeah.
right, with our forever chemicals and all of that. I think we need to look into industries that can fix that, right? There are many, many options out there for us to be environmentally safe and benefit the environment. I would not be for putting a dirty business in there. I don't want to walk out my door and smell a mill or smell whatever chemicals that they are.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
just because it's wood products doesn't mean it's.
This is
clean
true.
Business.
This is absolutely true. I mean, stinking Lincoln, right? That's what I heard. I don't know. I wasn't here then, but you know how it goes. It is, but that's also the air that we breathe. It's the water we drink. And it will directly affect us at some point. So no, I wouldn't be for putting any type of dirty business in the mill.
Well, thank you. I. Okay, a short one, Dawn, yeah.
A statement about the salmon farm. There,
No, if this is,
Yeah.
unless this is a question directly for them, we can save that for a conversation after, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I would like to have a hand for our candidate. Good job answering the questions. I enjoyed that. Thank you. I'd like to take a 10-minute break or so, or maybe a little bit longer, but not much. And then we will invite the school board up. I'd like to invite you to come find a seat, please.
I figured you wouldn't mind, huh? No.
it's a different type of get together. I've gone to a lot of, in fact, Saturday, well, went briefly, all four of them, three bigger circuses here, Millinocket.
You're welcome.
The last time the time I got to the
Paperwork that has to. be
Memorial
filled out
Theater.
In order to stand.
This was too late.
Oh, I'm gonna work at home tonight. When do you work? I'm going to 11. Oh, I work.
I did, sir.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I haven't done it for a while. Oh my God. The paper. And I'm gonna have to fill it all in. And I.
We can get started, folks.
It's just.
Yeah. You got that right, yeah.
You do that.
Retired in 76.
I'm 83.
It's been pointed out that we have a third candidate who could not make it tonight, Kevin Gregory. He is on the ballot. He is still running and could not be here tonight, so sorry about that, I'm sure. And our next two candidates are for school board are Kevin Libby and Thomas Malcolm. I call him Tom, but using the Wallace Wally rule, Kevin, please tell us about yourself, your qualifications for office, and why you're interested in serving on the school board.
If you were all in fourth or fifth grade, I'd do a lot better talking to you. Not that good with adults, so if I make a mistake or I say a word wrong, please forgive me. I grew up in Millinocket. I've lived here 70 years. I've had the best of Millinocket. I had a wonderful education. I had wonderful teachers, and I was blessed. My education, I went in the mail right out of high school. I was 17 years old. I spent 30 years in the mail. During that time, I went to school nights. I got an associate degree. I got a 4-year degree in education. And when the mill shut down, thank God I had that. I had always wanted to teach, but I'm not gonna give up a job in the mill. I was making good money. And when the mill went down, it looked pretty good money at school. So I started teaching and I was blessed. I always wanted to be a teacher, but I had a family and I wasn't gonna quit the mill to do it. When I started teaching, I started as a special education teacher. And I had the opportunity to go and get my master's. And that was a blessing. Uh, you don't need an education to be successful, but I learned that in education gives you choices, it gives you opportunities. And it did me. I just think that I sometimes get emotional about this stuff. Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to be on the school board? Everybody loves kids. I love, if you don't love kids, then you're not much good, in my opinion. I'm sorry. But I love children and I love my students. And I was blessed to do it. And I want the kids we have in school today, I want them to get a good education. I could tell you stories about great teachers I had. I could tell you stories about great teachers I worked with and how they treated students and how they cared about students. And I want to support them. I want to support the students. I want to do it in a fiscal responsible way with taxes and money. I know we're not the Millinocket of 70 years ago. I know we have to watch our budget. Some of that can be addressed, and I got ideas how to address it. And I'm a big proponent of some things we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, Walden.
Thank you, Ken. Tom, please tell us about yourself, your qualifications for office, and why you're interested in serving on the school board.
Well, I wasn't born in Millinocket. We moved here when I was 3 months old. I was at a job when they built Millinocket Community Hospital. Been here all my life. I graduated from Stearns High School, as Kevin said, in the best of the days. When I went to school, Millinocket was top dog and proved it around the state. Due to some circumstances, things have changed. I spent 50 years working for the town of Millinocket in the fire department, retiring as chief in 2023. Took about 10 days for me to realize that I couldn't retire. It's not just what's gonna happen. So I got lucky enough to come back and work part-time for the town. In saying that, I served on the school board for 15 years, and when I did at that time, I said, I'll serve 15 years, and that's my limit. If I get elected 5 times, then I'm done. And I did. I got done. My wife got done teaching, and I came back a couple of times. We lost board members, and I got appointed 1 year by the council, and then ran for 1 year term. I've known I've really missed being on the school board. I've missed the interactivity of what's going on and what we can do to make things different. I think we're at a time right now when we've tried a bunch of stuff. Now we need to get serious about how we're gonna do this. Sharing is great, and we've done great with the sharing programs that we've had, but sharing is not gonna do it. Consolidation amongst the 3 communities, I'm not sure is gonna do it. Maybe we need to look at a larger consolidation. Maybe we need to look at bringing I'm not a fan of Region 3. I think we need to get our kids educated in our school systems with the learning trades and things like that we're just not providing. So what's that got to do with why I'm running for school board? I'm running for school board for an opportunity for our citizens, but also for our children. We need to make it so that our children have the best that they can have, the best that we can afford for them to have. But without taking our retirees, our senior citizens and saying, we're just gonna have to keep paying the bill. So I've been dedicated my entire career, My life has been dedicated to work with kids. I serve on the National Fire Protection Association as the New England representative for education, providing training and education for teachers and for students about fire and life safety. That's really why I'm running again. We get back into it, and I think you need to have the time and the dedication to do that. Thank you.
Then, yeah, we'll just go back and forth. That makes more sense, I think. Kevin, what specific goals do you hope to accomplish during your time on the school board? And what hurdles do you anticipate being in your way?
Okay, when I ran 3 years ago and I got elected, it was really a bad time. The school was arguing with the town council and vice versa, and I couldn't understand it. Because you got a lot of smart people in the town council, and you got a lot of smart people in school. Well, I got elected and I didn't solve the problems, but it got worked out. And during the 3 years I've been on the school board, we cooperated, I think, very well with the town, and the town has cooperated and supported the school. That's an accomplishment. We got to work together. Some accomplished during the time. We've done a lot to move in the direction that Tommy mentioned. I don't know if we'll ever really consolidate. I'm not positive that that's the best route. But we've shared sports and music, and Tommy was involved with that when he was on the school board. But we've gone farther than that now. We share a superintendent. We share a special education. We share our superintendent with Katahdin. I don't know how many of you know that. Saves us a little bit of money. We share the supervisor of the special ed program with East Millinocket. We share a resource officer. So we have a resource officer in Millinocket. I think that's fantastic. We have a program we share with with Medway. It's called the Ascent Program. It's for middle school students. We have students, and they have students that really don't fit in with a regular classroom sometimes. Not that they're special education or anything like that, but they just don't fit into that sitting in a desk in a classroom. And in our school, by working with Medway, we're providing some opportunities, and we're doing that together. So are we moving in a good direction? We're moving in a great direction. And will they all save money? No, they're not all gonna save money. Some will. Sharon, the superintendent, saved some, but when you got a budget of millions of dollars, and, you know, but we're gonna be successful doing it. I'm a big believer in controlling my own destiny. I don't want people telling me from Augusta or from the federal government what to do in Millinocket, Maine. I wanna work with the communities in the area, and we can solve our problems. We can work it out. One of the hurdles, I think this is the question that asked for a hurdle, Wally, is this?
Yes. Yes.
It's the people who say, well, we tried to do that. It didn't work out. Well, I don't want to hear that. I asked my wife twice to marry me. I didn't give up after the first time, and thank God I didn't. And we can't give up after the first time that, we couldn't get together with East Millinocket, or we couldn't cooperate with Medway, or they didn't like us, or we didn't like them. Well, we gotta like them, and they gotta like us, because we gotta work together. You talk about the towns working together, the schools have to work together. And we're doing some other things too, and I'll get to that in another question, but I'm not gonna give up. I'm not a quitter. And we're gonna do it, and I hope we do it within the next 3 years. But there's a lot of parts, there's a lot of things we have to look at, but we're gonna make it work.
Thank you. Tom, what specific goals do you hope to accomplish during your time on the school board? And what hurdles do you anticipate being in your way?
My biggest goal is to pull these schools together more. As Kevin says, they've come a long ways. They really have. I mean, you can talk about what went on yesterday. Well, that's gone. That's done. We're never gonna go back there. We need to focus on what we can do today to make things better. Sharing the superintendent, I thought that was a great idea. Sharing the special ed director, another great idea. I think we ought to go wider with that than just Millinocket and East Millinocket. I think we could. But what about classes? What about teachers? Why couldn't we do like a lot of other small communities around Maine that do hybrid courses? Maybe Stearns puts some on, maybe Skank puts some on. Maybe Katahdin has some. If we're not gonna come together and go to one school, which I really, we've got Stearns High School sitting over there. That was built for 2,500 kids. How many kids in it today? Oh, 284?
Yeah. 434 kids in our school system.
134 in the whole.
Complete.
in the whole school.
Both schools.
We'll get there.
That's, but. And my point isn't to, I think the school board that you have has done a great job. I think they're very dedicated. I served on school boards that they would show up at the meeting and open the packet. That can't happen. If you're gonna serve on a school board, you need to be aware of what's going on. Those are goals that I have, is that we make everybody realize that sitting on this board doesn't mean you're just holding the seat down. You're there to do something and to make a difference. Hurdles, there's gonna be hurdles. I mean, we've had hurdles. Millinocket's known for hurdles. That's getting to be nothing new to us. But we can overcome them if we all work together. And I think that the time is right now. In all the communities, the people that have been calling and talking to me aren't just from Millinocket. They're from Millinocket, they're from East Millinocket, they're from Mattawamkeag, they're from Woodville. Wanting to know, what can we do to work together? What can we do to provide a better education? Thank you.
Thank you. I keep getting the time signal from the table over there.
We're ignoring that.
We have.
There's only two of us, there was supposed to be three, we got all the time we need.
It's the curve of having a thoughtful, experienced candidate. Kevin, please share your thoughts on a couple of topics that are being currently discussed by the school board.
Just one thing about sharing, when I say we're sharing our superintendent, we're sharing our superintendent with Katahdin. I just wanted you to know that, so we're reaching out.
But not East Millinocket.
No, not
And
yet.
not Medway.
Nope, not yet. And I say not yet. Please share your thoughts, topics. Currently being discussed, federal funding. We get a lot of our money through special education and through Title I funds, a lot of our money. The current administration in Washington DC, a lot of that stuff's up in the air. We're not,
Please use your.
oh, excuse me, I'm not sure, I think I got a big mouth, but I'm not sure of that funding. So we worry about that. That's a big concern. I'm hoping that even if they do cut back on the federal level, Department of Education, that they award some block grants, that we still get that money and it can be administered through the State Department, the school department in Augusta. We have what they call the Essential Program Services. It's the EPS funding. It's stacked against Millinocket and rural schools. It's based on property taxes. It's based on school populations. Who do you think that favors people? Right now, the principals, the Maine School Board Association, and which part of, we've endorsed a plan to revamp that and try to make it more equitable for small schools. I know the state, and besides us doing that, I know there are several committees at the state level working to revamp that formula. Now, will they do it? Will it benefit Millinocket? I pray it does. I hope it does. It should be fair. Just because I don't live in Portland doesn't mean my granddaughter doesn't deserve an excellent education. So those are some issues concerning us. We talk about school population. That was one of my answers here. We've got 434 people in the entire school. We've got 9 through 12. We have 129 students. 9 through 12. Okay, 129. I graduated and I don't let me do this. If I start doing this, somebody give me the evil eye. Back when I was in school,
Back in the day.
Wally and I was talking, I think we said we had 180 about kids in my senior class. Wow. When I had 180 kids in my senior class, I had 4 or 5 English classes to choose from. I had advanced math to choose from. I had chemistry 1, chemistry 2, and I think we had intro to physics from Monty Hopkins. We had those things. I had 2 foreign languages to choose from. I took Spanish. That didn't do me much good, guys. But I took Spanish for 2 years. It got me in college. Back then it was required. We had Spanish, and we had French. We had all these opportunities. How do we get these opportunities again? We don't have a big school. You know how we get them again? I don't know if you guys ever noticed, they got a big van down at East Millinocket. It's got a Wolverine on the side. Right? We got 2 vans in Millinocket. I don't know why we couldn't take a couple kids from Millinocket and send them down to East when they've got a good science teacher. I don't know why we couldn't have them send up a couple kids from East or Medway if we've got a good math teacher. Now that's sharing services, guys, and maybe we wouldn't save any money. We probably wouldn't, but we'd improve the education of our students. And that's what my primary concern as a school member has to be. And I have to be aware of the budget but I care about the kids. And I want to see them get the education they need, whether they go in, like Mr. Gould, he went in the Marines. That's great. That's honorable. I like to see our kids be able to go into service and be able to, the service isn't just running out with an AR-15 anymore. There's a lot of technology and things they have to know. I want to see the kids get to go to college. If they want to go to college, we'll give them an education so they can go. I want to see them become plumbers and carpenters. If they want to become a plumber, a heating man, a builder, we got to give them that education. And we're not going to do it with 1 math class or 1 science class. We have to really offer it to them. I've got some things that, and I'll get to them farther down the road and I'm spouting off and I don't know if there's any simple answer to any of these things. And I can't guarantee you we're gonna save a whole bunch of money, but I promise you that we'll give a good education to our students, the very best we can afford, and we'll be as conservative as we can with the check. What's a hurdle facing Millinocket? I want good teachers. Teachers get paid pretty good down southern part of the state. I don't want a turnover. Don't say this, Kevin. Go ahead, say it. 5th grade, we've had 2 teachers at Granite. We have 2 5th grades. That's turned over twice in 3 years. Twice in 3 years. That never used to happen. Miss Birdie, I'm gonna call her Mrs. Bowyer. I'm sorry. Taught in the school system all my life. You know, that's what it should be. We want to keep them. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
I'm gonna start not liking you guys.
Well, that's great.
I'm done.
To get your attention though.
I know. I talk too much.
Tom, please share your thoughts on a couple of topics that are being currently discussed by the school board.
Well, I know Kevin's talking about EPS. Let's talk about EPS for a minute, because I've been hounding some people in Augusta about EPS and what's going on. It's essential programming services for our school systems. Millinocket gets a raw end of the deal. Anything north of Bangor gets a raw end of the deal. Big time. But yet then they want to come in and tell us, well, you need 1.5, or you need 1 3/4 science teacher, or you need 2 ed techs for every 75 kids. They don't know Millinocket. They don't have any idea what it's like up here. EPS needs to be equalized. That's not gonna happen by the main school board doing it. It's not gonna happen by us doing it. It's gonna happen by the people that we elect to do it. We need to be on our elected officials in the state government to be doing something about this. This fairness needs to go both ways. Kevin talked a little bit about some of the other good programs they've got. We had a program when I went to Stearns where I worked in the afternoons. I went to classes in the morning and I went to work in the afternoon. I was very fortunate. I got to work at Cotard Motors. Had wonderful mentors there. that taught me things that I retained for a lifetime. We need the kids to be able to get that kind of experience. We're putting kids on a bus and sending them to Lincoln to Region 3. If we have a few that do excellent, do very well, welding classes, culinary arts, we can't get a firefighter, EMT, police officer out of Lincoln. They can't keep a program going long enough. Yet Farmington is booming with it. We need to take some of that stuff back. We've got a wood shop over there that's second to none. Why aren't we using it? It's just sitting there. I know why we're not using it, and it's not the school board's fault. It's contracts that we made years and years ago, and agreements we made. Well, it's time to look at, how do we get out of those agreements? How do we do things that benefit our children? Okay, I went to, my son recently moved to Ellsworth. I went to Ellsworth for graduation last fall, for 8th grade graduation, because it's a big thing down there. My granddaughter's class in Ellsworth is 425 kids in 8th grade. 425 kids, that's a Millinocket school system. We need to do better. We need to provide better for our kids. We need to, yes, we need to control the spending. Okay, but I think they do a good job of that. Are there things that we could change? Probably. We can always look. But you need to be looking down these avenues on what we're gonna do to make a difference. Because I'll tell you, I work with a lot of seniors day in and day out, and I have a lot of elderly widows that call me daily looking for help because they're having a hard time to make it. Okay, I care a lot about the kids, but I also care about these people, and we all need to. It's part of our community.
Thanks, Tom. We have actually talked through most of these questions, but we might ask.
Yeah, I've still got more to say on Don't you skip a question.
I'm glad that people laugh and are enjoying themselves, but these are thoughtfully answered questions. I appreciate this. Do you support school consolidation? Why or why not? And if yes, if yes, what do you think is the next step in moving the process forward?
Do I support school consolidation? You've heard me speak about what we're doing. I'm not sure if I do. I don't know if that is the final answer, but how do I find out if it's the final answer? Well, tell you what we got doing here, the final steps. The schools have a researcher person out of the University of Maine. Her name is, please get it right, Kevin, Kay Biddle. She works at University of Maine. She goes to different schools in the country. She collects data. She does interviews, and she comes up with a plan to help them do what we're talking about doing, sharing services, consolidating. Because each stakeholder, and a stakeholder is somebody that's got a concern, has to have a say. They have to be consulted. And we have to listen to them. We've got people, like Tommy said, we got a lot of old people in Millinocket. Not me. Not you, not us, but they do, and they're on fixed incomes. It's hard. So what, do we consolidate? Do we share services? Do we send kids down on the bus like I said? I think those all sound pretty good to me. But I'd like to see that everyone in the area, in all 3 towns, even up to Katahdin, they have a say, because they should have a say. They've all got, we don't have a bunch of dummies in this area. Well, I say I had a good education. A lot of you people had great educations. And we can use that to make the right moves. We don't have to fight with these small. I have no bone to chew with any of them. And they don't have to fight with me, and I don't fight with Medway, and I don't fight with Katahdin. All I care about is helping the kids, giving them a good education and doing it in a way that we're not driving ourselves through bankruptcy. And we're either gonna. So do I support consolidation? I support working in that direction, collecting the data to make sure it's the right thing for the community. And.
Thank you. Tom, do you support school consolidation? Why or why not? If yes, what do you think is the next step in moving the process forward?
Well, as I've already stated, yes, I'm in favor of consolidation, but I am more in favor of regionalization. I think it's about time that we started talking about regionalization. I don't know what it's gonna look like. I've got some ideas, but there are a lot smarter people than me that would. That's why we have administrators. That's why we have those people sitting in those chairs. That's what their job is. Our job is to lead them or give them the ideas that we think can help. And I think that that's where we need to be looking. I think if we seriously want to do something, we need to look at regionalization. We don't have any say about how far that goes. We do in school, but I think the whole town needs to be looking at regionalization. Look around you. Look what's happening. Look down to Lincoln, Howland area. What's going on down there right now? They're talking about consolidating more, regionalizing more, getting over into the Milo area, pulling more together. Is that the answer? I don't know. But I think it's something that we need to look at. As Kevin said, you know, and we tried it once before, we'd have a couple of students from here that would go to East, a couple would come up here. But we could also do with Zoom and with the technology we have today, there's no reason a teacher couldn't teach a class in Millinocket and take it in Katahdin, take it in Medway, take it in East Millinocket. Those are all things that we need to explore. Those things need to be explored. Are they the answer? I don't know. There's a lot smarter people than, as I say, than me to decide that. But I think those things need to be fleshed out and brought around. You know, you can all, a lot of you have lived here long enough to remember when we tried to combine the superintendent. We had a 3-town superintendent.
A woman.
Yeah, and it was a woman. Didn't work out really well. Years ago, they had done that and it worked. Okay. So I think that those things can work. It's just, how do we need the catalyst to start talking. That's my opinion. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Question 5. Kevin, do you support the school district's new cell phone use policy? Why or why not? In what ways do you think students should use technology at school?
I'm on the policy committee. Oops, I'm on the policy committee. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I support it. I have to always tell stories. Sorry. My wife and I were down at Pizza Hut and we'd ordered a pizza and there was a family sitting at a table. And there was a mom and a dad, a teenager and a younger elementary level. Mom and dad, teenager on their phones, elementary level on a pad, on one of those iPads. That's a sad situation. In school system, they don't need their phones in school. They have laptops. They don't need them. I had one of the principals tell me, he says it was amazing to go in the cafeteria this year and see kids talking to kids and not playing on their phones. Okay? Now, I'm not against cell phones and I'm definitely not against technology. I think that question is in here too. Technology, I'm all for technology. You guys all heard of AI, artificial intelligence. It's not a bad thing, but it's got to be used properly. I did some research for some of these questions using AI, but you know what I did? The bottom of that page, there were citations and it told where that information came from. I just didn't, and we have to teach our students when they use AI. Look for those citations. Make sure it's just not from Marvel comic books. Make sure it's real. Make sure you found your source. Did we have technology when I was in school? We had AI, we had encyclopedias. You won't find an encyclopedia in a school today. But I could find all my information from those encyclopedias. Kids today, they use AI to find their information. Now, do kids cheat? Yeah, kids will always find a way to kind of push the boundaries. But we have programs, or some of the teachers have programs where they can put a paper in and they can pretty much tell them if it's an original paper. Keep those cell phones out of the school. Teach children to talk to people. I sit there in the front row and I'm listening to the town council, people running, and they keep talking about cooperation. That's great, but how do you cooperate? You learn how to deal with people. You learn how to talk to people. You don't talk to them through a phone. You talk to them eye to eye. Get those phones out of the school. It's helping us do that.
Thank you. Dawn, do you support the school district's new cell phone use policy? Why or why not? And what ways do you think that students should use technology at school?
Absolutely. That's the best thing that they've done, that this school board's done in a few years. We had that before. And you can remember when we had a policy about cell phones. And we had a superintendent that said he didn't like that idea. And changed it. Kids do not need their cell phone in school. There's phones in every room. They can always, if they need to get hold of a parent, they can get them. What we don't need is something to happen at that school and our police officers not able to get there. Because they can't get through all the traffic. I think technology is great, but they have pads for that. They have other instruments to be used for that. They should not be using cell phones. We got very fortunate this year to get school resource officer in our school. That's something that we've tried to do, and we finally got it. There's another real example of working together and how that can work. But yes, I think cell phones don't belong in schools. They don't need them. Thank you.
And for our final thoughts, Kevin, this is your chance to make your case for your candidacy or share anything else you didn't get to touch on in previous questions.
I'm gonna kind of touch on a couple of things. I don't quit. Ask my wife. Second time, I begged. I don't quit. And I also, I use AI. Remember I said I did. I looked up, what are the issues facing Northern Maine? And the issues, retaining and recruiting staff. How do you retain and recruit staff? You give them a good contract, you pay them a fair wage, and you treat them with respect. That's how you keep staff. Like I said, Mrs. Friel, she worked in the school system all her life. Mrs. Garvin, Mrs. Page, they worked there. They were dependent. They knew the kids. They knew the home lives. They're important. They were important. Mrs. Weatherby down East Millinocket. When I got laid off from the mill, green education, I got to start working as an ed tech. I went down and I worked at Opal Myrick. Hey, they're good people. But the two main issues were retaining and recruiting staff, and there's a literacy crisis in this country. And Maine is one of the schools. Okay? We're in the bottom 10 states. Literacy. That's scary to me as a school board member. And I told you about, I looked it up on AI, and so my sources, it was Insight into Academia and Maine Public Radio. That's where that information came from. I don't make it up. I don't believe what it said on AI, but I made sure it was cited. And that's what I said, we teach our kids, make sure it's cited, make sure it's real information. Make sure it's just not somebody throwing some garbage out there. I don't quit. I said that I love all kids, and I do, but I got a personal skin in the game. Diane told me that expression. I was gonna use dog in the fight. I've got kids that I taught, they're in high school right now. I didn't finish my job. They're not out of school yet. I'm finishing my job. I'm in the school board. I want to do well. I'm proud of them. Nothing makes me feel, I'm not a tall guy. Whoa, you notice that? I'm not tall. I'll go in a store and I'll have some kid 6 feet tall come over and give me a hug. Yeah, I had one the other, up Stearns. He said, Kevin, Mr. Libby, I'm going to college down in Union Mall. I have kids do that, and I love them, and I cared about them, and there's not a teacher that don't care about their kids. And I wanna be in the school board. I'm supposed to wrap up final thoughts. I wanna be in the school board. And I wanna take care of those kids I started with in elementary, and I'm gonna, and if God will, I will take care of them. I had teachers that always cared about me. I tell you stories about Mr. Manzo. I can tell you stories about Mr. Hopkins. I can tell you stories about Mr. McDonald. These names that a lot of you won't know, but I know them. I know when they cared about me when I was a kid. When Mr. Manzo pulled me into his room one night, said, "You straighten out, I'm gonna kick your butt, Kevin. I'm gonna call your dad. He'll come in and I'll watch him kick your butt." I remember that. I know Mr. Hopkins, when I started teaching, he came over my classroom. He was on school board at the time, and he cared about what I was doing. I know when I got hired as a teacher, Mr. McDonald. I made a joke because there's 4 or 5 of us in a room, and I was one of the older people getting hired as a teacher. And some kid from University of Maine, a music teacher, real nice young guy, he started talking, blah, 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 and introduced himself. And I'm being a funny guy like I try to be sometimes. And I said, "Well, I got socks older than him." Mr. McDonald said, "And I had him in school." You know, so they cared about me, and I care about my kids, and I care about the school, and I care about the town. And does that qualify me? I take maybe teaching 20 years, that helps too.
That does.
So.
Yeah.
There you
Thank
go.
As a personal aside, I've been doing this for a few years now. The first time that Tom was a candidate, I skipped over him on the last question inadvertently. And he asked me, he said, "Well, did you want me to answer that?" And that, it was funny. Except the second time that I did it with Tom, I did it again. The exact same thing. I skipped over him and he asked, so here we are, our final question, me going 5 for 5. Tom, this is your chance to make your case for your candidacy or share anything else that you didn't get to touch on previous questions.
Thank you, sir. My candidacy is based on Millinocket. I love Millinocket. I've dedicated my life to Millinocket. I've dedicated my life to the community, to the schools. Am I the best choice? I don't know. That's up to you. But know this, if I am elected, then I'm there to serve each and every person in this community. I don't care what your last name is, where you come from, what you do. We have to be there for everybody. I was very fortunate, as I say, I had some great mentors growing up, and Kevin names off school teachers. I can go back to Mr. Savage and some teachers that were firm, but you knew that they cared about you. They might have been firm with you, but it's because they cared. Coach Wentworth. No gentleman could have been any harder on kids, but it's because he cared and he loved kids. I was very fortunate in my job at the fire department that when I got hired, the chief that hired me said, "I don't care what you do, but you gotta stop the juvenile firefighters in this community. We're just getting overrun. You gotta get into the schools and do something." I walked into the schoolroom, never taught, didn't have a clue what I was doing.
You did there.
And I walked in and the teachers would say, "Can't believe that you've never taught school?" No, it just shows. Well, that's what this community means to me. And if I'm elected, fine. If I'm not elected, I'm not going away. So things are still, they're gonna know I'm around. That's Kevin. I chew on some of them every once in a while, just to, why are we doing this? But it's all about putting people into these offices that care. You've got some great candidates running for town council. I hope we give people a chance to show that they can do the job and care about this community. I hope that we all care as much about this community as the members of the school board that are running. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Oh, both of us.
I got three more things tonight.
I'm sure you do. No,
Ask me later about the literacy program at Millinocket.
at this point, does anyone have questions for our candidates?
Okay, so literacy is an issue, and it's been an issue, and it is not going away. So my question is, how do you support the staff? When if I look at, and then NWEA scores, we have people that are reading at, this is in
Oh, yeah.
middle school, who are reading well into high school level. Fully meets. And below meets, which means they're reading at a 3rd to 4th grade level. How do we expect them to be successful if they can't? You know, thank God for Title I, but I'm saying that we've got kids that have flowed up to
Self-loving.
middle school and are gonna go to high school. Not being literate at level.
Okay. Good. Okay, I'll jump in on this real quick. You got one of my points, because I said about literacy, then I didn't say what we're doing about it, okay? Back years ago, we had a Reading First grant. And I was involved in that, and they bought us really a good, a curriculum. And we jumped reading scores about 2 levels in 2 years, and with kids, and we did a good job. We just got a new reading program. I was over at school today. It had kindergartners, learning about the beginning, the middle, the ending of a book, the plot. Kindergarten. I think with the new program, it's gonna help. If we can retain staff, that will help. But I just wanna make a point that it's not just a Millinocket problem, it's the entire state, but we're trying to address it. I didn't wanna go away and say, oh, it's terrible, we're not doing anything. Will we be successful? I hope so.
Excuse me, what are we gonna do for the kids that are launching into high school with that spread?
There's a lot of backing up to do, isn't there? What do you think about this COVID thing?
Yeah, that.
We lost 2 years.
That was the beginning.
I was working at the time. We lost several years of education because of COVID. It was oh, Kevin, I'm gonna get myself in so much trouble. It was we were doing Zoom meetings, with little kids. I remember watching, I was elementary, right? We had 4th and 5th graders in their bed doing Zoom meetings. We were supposed to be teaching them a class. Big brother would walk by in his boxer shorts. I mean, it was terrible. And we're trying to teach these kids. You can't, if you could put a TV show on to teach kids, you wouldn't need teachers. You can't do that. They need people. They need people that care about them. They need people that are trained to teach. I really think I taught special ed. I really think I could take just about anybody and teach them to read. I only had one child that the child couldn't rhyme. I mean, I couldn't, but anybody I could teach to read.
They need to have nursery rhymes when they're babies.
They couldn't do, I mean, you couldn't do cat, hat, fat, sat, you couldn't do any of these words. And if you couldn't do that, you couldn't build on it. But most children I could teach to read. You couldn't put them in front of a TV and teach them to read.
There is a long trail of important
Tom,
things
you
to.
go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry. I get off on tangents. Boy, my wife would be mad at me. Go ahead.
You'll never know.
Don't tell a
To
guy.
be honest with you, I don't know what we would do. We used to have a literacy coordinator.
Yeah,
We got
that's right.
Like a lot of the things we cut in this community, we need to be careful where we cut. We cut things and then we realize that shouldn't have happened. Okay? I don't know, I can't speak on it. Kevin says they're working on it, but we're like 3rd from the bottom,
The school itself,
3rd or 4th. and
I
we're-
don't believe we made some progress last year, but it's not enough progress. I mean,
And math is just as bad or worse.
but I was just giving you what would stand out in the state of Maine. I wasn't going specifically after Millinocket.
But we made
Literacy.
progress, but then, okay, as Kevin said, we made great progress. We jumped a couple of years. And then that seems to go away.
Yeah.
We can't do that. We need to focus on things like that and make them a priority.
Thank you. Focus is a good word. I think I'll concentrate on that a little bit here today.
Oh, boy,
Yes, sir.
I'm in
Thank you.
trouble.
Once again, my name is Al, live here. I was a teacher for 14 years and I always enjoy listening to teachers and people in the audience that are teachers and my friend Marion Fowler, who I love. But I was an art teacher and that's one of the things I really loved about what Tom said. I'm not gonna go on. I just, with the applied arts, the wood shops, the metal shops, the jewelry, the ceramics, those things it's critical thinking. It's starting with an idea, coming out with a design, a plan, taking the steps you do and then you create something. Where did that come from? Your mind. That gets kids excited about classes. If they have the opportunity for those kind of, I don't know about budgets, if we have money for the teachers or the facilities or to run them. But that I've heard tech CEOs say their favorite class in high school was woodshop. And they learn more in woodshop that keeps their critical thinking. And then the other thing I just wanted to ask you.
Is there a question?
Yeah, how do you guys feel about, because banning Catcher in the Rye was a required reading when I was in high school.
Me too.
It's now on the banned book list in many school systems due to parental attacks at school boards across the country. I wonder how you feel about banning books and which encourage, and we're sitting in a library.
Critical thinking. Do we ban books? No, we don't ban books. Not Millinocket, not yet. And we shouldn't ban books. But I think we should have some parental input too on some things. There are some things that are pretty trashy out there. I don't want kids to be exposed to it at different levels. Would I read Catcher in the Rye to a fourth grader? Probably not. Is a high school student a little bit different? Yeah, they are. You have to use some judgment, but do I believe in banning books? Of course I don't. No educator would ever believe in banning books. Using common sense when you present it to students. Yeah, I think that should be used. And you talked about industrial arts and things like that, and creativity. When I was in school, when you were a freshman, you got to have industrial arts for half a year. And you got to have home ec for half a year. I would love to see that as an elective again.
That's a good
A
idea.
man or a woman needs to know how to sew a button on a shirt. They need to know how to read a recipe. Fractions, they need to know how to use a measuring tape. It would be a great elective to go back in. I don't think it would be that hard to do. I don't think it would cost, oh, I love you. You could adopt me. Now I'm on industrial arts. Yeah, we could do that. They should be exposed to that. I was exposed to it as a freshman. I think our kids should be. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can't put a new shop in or revamp the shop we got or hire industrial arts teachers and welders. But
Thank
we can introduce children to the skills they need.
Just taking them.
When it comes to banning books, we've never banned books in this community.
No.
Could that happen? That happened in southern Maine and it's working its way up. It hasn't gotten here yet, but I know my wife was a special ed teacher, so she is very big on that because a lot of the books that they banned in Old Town were books that she used for some of her special ed kids. And I hear that story a lot, that, this banning books. Are we gonna have to face that someday? I suppose that it's like anything, it works its way up. But why do we answer to people that come from somewhere else? These are the people that we answer to. We answer to our community. And if our community, I think that if a parent thought a book was bad, we would hear it, or the school board would hear it.
Thank you.
I gotta tell you
We-
this, because I have a.
No, excuse me, we're getting near the time that our meeting is coming to an end. And we have one more question here.
It will be quick.
My answer.
I don't know.
It really can be. So I'm vested in this town as I'm the town clerk. I don't reside here, so everybody has my vote, I guess.
Thank you.
But the candidates for council and also school board have both touched on it. My curiosity is, I've heard your feelings on, or your support or non-support of consolidation regionally, and also your budget consciousness to save, but also to be mindful. So what are your thoughts, very briefly, on possible consolidation just within the community for now savings versus 10 years from now, possible savings? Thank you.
You're talking intra-school consolidation,
Still a cost savings.
shutting down Granite and moving them over to the high
Want me to
school.
start with that one?
You go ahead, Norm. Mic drop.
I'd love to have somebody listen to me on that. I think that it's time that we close one of our school buildings. I know that's not gonna be a real favorable thing with some people, but we don't need the two schools that we've got. You know, I can remember when we moved the middle school into the high school. That will never work, you guys it's disaster. You're gonna ruin our kids. Do you realize today that we have the middle school and the high school over there? We also have Kids Piece in there. And guess who the biggest supporter of the kids in Kids Piece are? Our high school kids. Thank you.
That's a hard question. It's not easy. When I talked about consolidation with the other areas in, you know, East and Medway and Cotton and different places, there's a lot of moving pieces. When you put little kids in with older students, there's moving pieces there that you gotta consider. Building codes, and Tommy knows all about building codes. He's a smart man, right? And they're different when you get little kids. Going up and down stairs, it's different. Evacuations, it's different. There's a lot, it's been looked at in the past. They talked about spending millions of dollars if we did it. Is it an option? It's an option. Right now, do I think it's a good option? I don't. But like I say, when that woman looks at things, maybe she'll be looking at those things too. The woman I mentioned that was looking at consult, maybe she'll look at that. It's a beautiful building we have. We have beautiful facilities. And I'm proud of them. I'm on the Building and Grounds Committee too, guys. Like Gilda, never missed a meeting. I'm always on time. Could it be done? Maybe it could be done. Could it be done successfully? I'm not sure. You'd have to ask somebody above my pay grade. If somebody had suggestions, I'd listen to them. If somebody had ideas, I'd listen to them. I think that's a skill I might have learned at school. That's it.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. And folks, it is, it's reached 8 o'clock. That's the time that we agreed would be over. Truly appreciate you coming tonight. Truly appreciate the great questions. I'm very pleased with the strong slate of candidates that we had and the thoughtful answers to questions. And I feel like I would be well represented by anyone who was here tonight that would be elected. So I wish you all luck and thank you so much for participating with us. We appreciate it.
Is this 2 out of 3 also? Seated, be seated?
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3?
The other person didn't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 2 out of 3.
One more thing. No microphone though, because
No, I'll tell you what.
well, the thing is, I wanted to thank Tommy. When I got on the school board, Tommy helped me a lot. And I appreciated it, and I still do. And he knows that. I know. Bunch of
Thank you for my.
You both did an excellent